Good
Okay.
morning. Um,
Yes, I was going to introduce you to Chansa. Yes, we have a gentleman on call, all the way from Zambia, who has been doing his business now for at least a year, and he's moving steadily. Despite not having the New Life office within Zambia, I can tell you that he has been very intentional about attending these particular sessions, trainings. He has been very intentional about growing his business skills. And would like to thank you for putting aside your time this mornings. Chansa, I know it is 5 a.m. in Zambia, and you're going to be sharing with us very fantastic information. Please go ahead, Chansa. You're very welcome. You can tell us a bit about yourself, then you start on the topic.
thank you. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, very loud and clear. Thank you.
Okay. So my name is Chansa Chisha. I am a graphic designer, painter, and character designer from Zambia. I'm currently pursuing a degree in design arts at the Open Window University of Zambia, which is a creative arts institute. But in my spare time, I use my spare time to teach people how to improve their health and live healthy and happier lives. And I've been working my own business for um, the past 11 months now. And it's steadily growing, which is exciting for me. Yeah. So without wasting too much time, I think we can just dive right into the presentation. Today, we will be talking about closing the deal. And if you allow me to just share my screen, then I can start using the slides. Okay. Are you able to see the slides?
Yes, we are, Chansa. Thanks.
Okay. So, closing the deal. Closing the deal starts with you first closing in your mind and believing the prospect will accept the deal. Another way this can be understood is that closing a deal begins with first visualizing a successful outcome, which means before any negotiation or interaction, a person must mentally commit his or herself to the idea of reaching an agreement, and they must believe in their ability to do so. So each and every one of us should always remember that mental preparation, presenting with confidence, and having a determined mindset play a very big role in the process of the presentation and closing the deal at the end of the day. Yeah. Mhm. Uh-huh. So there's a number of fundamental skills and tools that a distributor should have. One of which is closing the deal, which we'll be covering in detail today. But I'll just like to briefly talk about the others that you can see on the slide here. So number one, we have a name list, which of course we know is a list that we have um, of our business prospects and our product prospects. So it's usually a good idea to have at least two books for this one, just to make the workflow easier. One specifically for business prospects and another one just for product prospects. It's basically names, phone numbers, email addresses, and the like. Just contact information for the people that we have to talk to. Then next we have contacting, which is a skill. It's basically how we reach out to other people and the different ways in which we do it. We have phone calls, we have one-on-one interactions, and we also have presentations as well, because that's an exchange of communication. Presentation, again, an exchange of information. This can happen in form of a one-on-one, an outreach, or a presentation. And then exposure. So when we say exposing, we're talking about exposure. And according to the Oxford Dictionary, exposure is the act of subjecting someone to an influencing experience. So in this case, that experience would be the meeting and the interactions with other distributors and their respective stories and experiences in the business. And then following up is what we do after we have exposed these people to a product or to an experience or to the business itself. Yeah. So now we'll be getting into closing the deal. So what exactly is closing the deal? Closing the deal is simply coming to a conclusion after a business interaction, a successful conclusion after a business interaction. So a close is almost always suggested by the presenter, and it happens after the presentation or the product has been shared. So one thing to keep in mind is that having an upline who has been involved with the business for a much longer time can make the process much easier, much easier. Because in the case that the new distributor, let's say this is a scenario where a new distributor and an old distributor working. In the case where the new distributor makes the wrong step, then the upline can step in and help in closing the meeting. And at the end of the day, the distributor might feel bad about how they went about the process, but at the end of the day, they learn something new and gain experience from that encounter. Yeah. Another thing to keep in mind is that when closing a deal, we don't always get the same outcome and people respond differently. So in some cases, it might take more than one exposure until that person gives you the desired response, whether that's a business prospect or a product prospect. Yeah, but at the end of the presentation, a person should always expect either making a sale or sponsoring someone. That's the reason why we present. Yeah. So why do we need to learn how to close? Learning how to close a deal is very crucial for a business person. This is because it solidifies the completion of negotiation. It ensures that the distributor or any business person really makes a transaction and ultimately contributes to the growth and success of their business. Effective deal closing can help in finalizing agreements, building relationships, achieving business objectives, and sustaining long-term success. Yeah. So a number of us have seen the parable of the pipeline with Bruno and Pablo. So if all of us here are working to build our pipeline like Pablo through this business, then we can think of closing the deal like fastening the screws to our pipeline, because you can't have a structure if it's not secured. So simply put, without the screws, in this case, learning how to close, we can't build anything up and hope for that to benefit us with confidence. Yeah. So among the points here, we have the first one saying no does not mean no, it means not right now, which is true. And in other cases, when someone says no, we usually tend to take it personally. But it's always a good thing to keep in mind that these people are not denying us per se. It's the opportunity that they're denying. at the time. So we shouldn't let this discourage us, and we should always walk away with a smile knowing that we could always try again next time. Yeah. So another reason why we learn how to close is, simply put, to achieve our goals and to get tangible results. Because if you don't know how exactly this process works, then you won't do your business effectively. It also increases our believability or confidence, because if you know how to end your business presentations and your deliveries, obviously you do it with confidence because you know you have the skills, you know you have everything that you need to say, and you know that with all of that in mind, the presentation and the interaction will go smoothly. Yeah. Someone's camera is on. Okay. So, how to effectively close the deal? Understanding that at the end of a presentation, you either get a product consumer or someone interested in the business is something to keep in mind. So, like I mentioned earlier, we don't always get the same outcome from these presentations. So it's good to keep these two things in mind, that we have an outcome with a business prospect and an outcome with a product prospect. So after the presentation is done, it now becomes a matter of us asking the right questions and listening to these people so that we're able to identify where exactly they lie, which is basically analysis. So a business prospect is someone who has shown interest in what the business provides and has demonstrated a need to do the business, while on the other hand, a product prospect is a potential customer who might be interested in a specific product offered. It's also important to note that the product prospect can start out as a product user, but they still have the potential to become a distributor at the end of the day. But in any case, having any one of these people is still a good thing for a business. And the best way to understand where these people lie is to listen and understand what their need is when we're communicating during the close of the presentations that we have. So how exactly do we do that? We can hit the target by asking the right questions and listening to the prospects when they speak, like I mentioned earlier. So why ask the right questions? Why are we asking the right questions? So I wrote down 5 reasons why asking these questions is important. So I'll just go ahead and read them out for you, and then we'll go over the points here on the slide. So asking the right questions when closing the deal. Number 1, it helps to clarify the prospect's specific needs or concerns, especially if they have questions. Number 2, it ensures both parties understand the terms, expectations, and commitments involved in our business. Number 3, it allows you, who's presenting, of course, to address any final objections or hesitations that the prospects may be having, or may present during the presentation, even the ones that they haven't presented, because there are usually a few things that hold people back, a few things that people have in common that hold them back when it comes to not understanding the information that we present them with. Yeah. And then 4, asking the right questions strengthens rapport and trust between the parties involved. Yeah. Number 5, lastly, asking the right questions guides the conversation towards a mutually beneficial agreement. So those are just a few reasons I came up with that are helping us understand why it's important to ask the right questions. Now, a few questions we could ask a person towards the close of a presentation is, what did you like best, instead of what do you think? What do you like best? Not what did you think? So usually when someone asks questions like, what did you think? This isn't really what we call a power question, because when you ask a question like this, it's kind of open-ended, meaning you won't always expect the response that you as a person is looking for. So it's advised to ask close-ended questions with a specific goal, like what did you like best towards the end of the presentation? If you're looking to get a response that you actually want, something that's relevant to the business presentation. So just keep in mind that asking open-ended questions towards the end isn't always advisable. There are a few open-ended questions that can be asked, but immediately after the presentation, it would be advised to ask questions like, what did you like best, instead of what did you think about the presentation? Another question that can be asked is, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you see yourself? If you want, you can even go a step further and say, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you see yourself? If 1 to 5 is you using the products and 6 to 10 is you doing the business, something like that. And combining questions like this and the one above really works well. I have actually used this one, the one about the scale of 1 to 10. I usually use this one in my presentations, and I really like how people respond to this question. So yeah, it's a really good idea to just keep this one in mind. Then the next question we could ask is, how much money would you like to make on a part-time basis per month? This is, of course, after someone has shown interest in doing the business. So at this point, someone is leaning more towards doing the business than just consuming the products. Yeah, so how much money would you like to make on a part-time basis? And then the person suggests that amount of money, and then after that, you can then branch off into a sort of open-ended discussion where you're just talking about the person's needs and wants and whatnot. So this is also a very good question to ask. Then the next one is, how many hours are you ready to put in order to make that money per month? So this is also a really good question, because when you ask a question like this, you're already showing the prospect that this isn't an easy fix kind of business. It's not a business where you start out and then over a short period of time, you find yourself already earning large amounts of money. So this question is already helping that person see that this is a business where you actually have to put in the work for you to start earning money. How many hours are you putting into this business? Putting in hours of work for you to gain money, because you can't be out here claiming you do a business when you're not actually putting in the work, and you can't be doing that while expecting to get money at the end of the day. So this is a very good question that can be used for establishing that mindset in the prospect's head during the presentation. Then the next one is, how long would you be willing to give me in order for me to teach you how to make the money? This is also another very good one, because apart from showing the person that they're still putting in time to build this business and it's not an easy fix, or it's not something where you just start out and gain a lot of money there and then. It's a process. Like we always say, we're building pipelines. With this question, you show this person that whatever it is, in terms of the time they're willing to give, you as an established distributor will be there to help guide them throughout the process. So you'll be there to act as this person's support basically throughout the process. This one is the same as the final point, which is phrased kind of differently, but basically they're leaning towards the same objective. If I could show you how to get the money or specified amount over the next period of time, this could be months, this could be a year, this could be weeks, possibly, if the person is really determined. Yeah, so they specify that amount of time. If you show me how to get this money over this amount of time, you have told me, is there anything else you need to know, or are you ready to get started? Are you ready to get started? There is another power question that we can ask. So it's questions like these that fall under the category of the right question, because when you ask questions like this, you already have an idea of what the outcome is going to be. It's not an open-ended, these are not really open-ended questions. So you are able to control the flow of the presentation by sticking to questions like this, basically. Hitting the target with the right questions. Moving on, we'll talk about tools for closing. So a person can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk for hours during the presentations, but at the end of the day, you might just end up scaring away the prospect, constantly talking and not giving them a chance to express anything, any of the things they're thinking in the moment. So, I mean, like I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, I am a university student pursuing a degree in design arts, with specialization in graphic design and animation. So in visual communication, which is one of the subjects that we take in the program, we learn that humans are visual creatures and we respond greatly to visual stimuli compared to any other sensory inputs. So what I'm trying to say here is that it really is true when people say seeing is believing. So a distributor should make sure, like they should really make sure to carry things like proof of payment, lifestyle magazines, and never forget your application form, because obviously you're going into this presentation with already visualizing the positive outcome. So it would be detrimental for someone to leave out this application form or order forms or receipt books, because what are you going to do if everything goes well and you don't have these forms at the end of the presentation? And now you start fumbling through your things, and then the prospect is out there just looking at you, slowly losing interest, thinking you're not prepared and everything. So being prepared, planning in advance is very good for closing. Planning is an asset. And it is very important in the success of your presentations. So a prospect should be shown that the benefits of Neolife outweigh the cost of starting the Neolife business. And they should also be shown that what they stand to benefit at the end of the day from everything here compared to the startup cost is so much more worth it compared to starting any other businesses. Yeah. So here we have a listing of some things that a distributor should try as much as possible not to do during their presentations. And I will just quickly go over this. We're almost running out of time. So, number one, do not beg your prospects. At any cost, do not beg your prospects, because this will just end up making you seem desperate in their eyes, and it just brings down your image during your presentations. Next, a person shouldn't be apologetic about their product prices or startup costs, because these things have been set up the way they have been for a reason. And in terms of product prices, it's always good to remind these people that these things have already been planned out and they're following a certain standard. So everything that has been priced the way it is priced that way for a reason. Also, we shouldn't make promises that we know we can't keep. These are promises that can be made looking at how the products work and also what the business has to offer, and also how we'll be helping these people out to build their businesses. So we should never promise something we know we can't keep or fulfill. Then we shouldn't let closing procedures become too formal. So at this point, because towards the end of the presentation, we'll be sharing a lot about how this business has benefited us, and we shouldn't let that process be too formal. Otherwise, we won't be able to build that rapport and connection with these people successfully. Next, we should also try as much as possible not to make it easy for the prospect to refuse. And previously here, we're looking at asking the right questions. So basically, we shouldn't make it easy. We should make it almost impossible, actually, for them to refuse the opportunity. So we should really look at how we phrase things. Next, we shouldn't overtalk, which I mentioned earlier on, because talking just ends up boring people at the end of the day. And we have to do it in moderation. Also, we shouldn't confuse the prospect with too many facts, figures, and samples. And we shouldn't overlook the obvious things, like I mentioned earlier on as well. There's a number of things people might be skeptical about. These are things that they don't necessarily always share with others, but it's good to just keep these things in mind as we head towards the end of the presentation that we have with these people, so that we can address them regardless of them not even asking them in the first place, because these are concerns that people tend to have. So we should give them what they want, basically. And then we shouldn't look too overjoyed when closing the deal. And as much as that's exciting for us, we should really try to just keep our composure during that process. And then lastly, never giving up and trying again constantly, even if people don't give us the desired responses at the end of the day. Yeah. So this is a list of don'ts that we should always keep in mind during our presentations. Obviously, we won't always remember all of them, but we should try as much as possible to refer back to these presentations, so that we should just keep these points in mind because they are very important. So I have actually had a 2-minute video in conclusion that just summarizes everything that we've spoken about so far. It's 5:30 right now. So I'll just try.
Chansa, kindly go ahead and play it.
Sorry?
You can kindly go ahead and play it. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, let me just play that.
When your prospect has all the information they need, You have followed up and handled objections. The next step is to help your prospect make a decision to either join your team as a distributor or a customer. We call this closing. At Nearlife, we believe the best way to close is by simply telling the truth, caring, and doing what is best for your prospect. However, most of the time, your prospect will need your help in making a decision. So you will have to ask for the sale. I know this can be uncomfortable, so here are a few examples and closing questions to help guide you. You could say, sounds like you're ready to join. Or, if this looks good and feels right, I will help you get started today. I would love to work with you. Or, is there anything else you need to know in order to get started today? Closing is an art, not a science. So know that every person and prospect moves at different speeds. Some people will be ready to get started right away. Others will take longer to make a decision. Use your judgment and remember, this is a relationship business and relationships take time to build. Here are some pro tips to help you close the right people into your business by setting realistic expectations. For the business, make sure they know it takes work and effort to be successful, but you will be there to guide and to help them along the way. Ensuring your prospect does not have a get-rich-quick mentality, as this is dangerous for you, your reputation, and ours. For the products, yes, our products work exceptionally well, but results will also depend on factors outside of your control. Things like lifestyle, habits, daily product use, so don't over-promise on results. In summary, share your products and opportunity with new people every day. Become good at following up as many times as necessary and confident in handling any objections. Get good at closing by helping people make a decision to join or become a customer by asking for the sale at the right time. We are excited for your Nearlife journey and we look forward to your success.
Okay, so practice, basically. And that brings us to the end of this session. I am sure that we have picked up a few points from what we've heard today. So I would like to thank everyone for making an effort to listen in until the end. And in case anyone needs to watch the video again, it's available on the Nearlife back office under video presentations. So the name of the video is The Art of Closing the Deal. And yeah, thank you for